We started. So, welcome everybody to the YouTube version of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We have a new Scotchy Bourbon Boy core representative.
All right.
Matt Mayher.
Matt Mayher. I'm
Matt
ready to
Mayher.
do this.
Mayher. I'll get that down. Matt Mayher. Yes, it's great to have you.
I'm excited to
Dude.
be here. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, it's like we're going to drink a lot of whiskey together coming up, and so I'm excited too.
Yep, that's the exciting part.
And then there's going to be a lot of fuck-ups, but that's okay.
That's definitely okay.
So I also have a little bit of history on Buffalo Trace when we do the Eagle Rare, all the different things that, because we're going to be going down there. We can talk about that too. That should be pretty cool. All right, I'm going to start. I've already done the test, so I'm just going to start recording. 1 hour, 94, okay. Maddie Glenn. All right, we got to be quiet in 3, 2.
Spirits of French Lick is proud to introduce the Matty Gladden Bottled and Bond Bourbon. This 4-year aged bourbon is double pot distilled and non-chill filtered and has a full-bodied mouthfeel with eucalyptus, molasses, clove, ginger, and slight citrus as well as grains of paradise. The finish is long and reappearing on the back of the tongue with notes of pepper, tobacco leaf, and mint cream. All of our spirits are available for tasting and purchase inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. Spirits of French Lick, respect the grain, please enjoy responsibly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
We're at the Ultimate Whiskey Bar.
That's a great intro.
Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. This is a special podcast because it's a first. We have Matt Mayher, our very special, he's a guest, but not so much because he is joining the podcast team. So we're really excited. I've been working a little bit. I met Matt, I believe it was last November. It was right around there. And we were waiting in line for a drop, and he basically came through, and I was with Super Nash, and we met, and then all of a sudden there we were a couple weeks ago at another drop, and he is now. Do you run the Canton Bourbon Boys?
Yes.
Okay, so he's the main what would you say, engine driving the Canton Bourbon Boys. Yeah. So how did you guys eventually first meet?
So it was kind of interesting. I didn't know a lot of people were into bourbon where I was. I liked collecting it myself, having people over, enjoying a pour, things like that. At work, randomly one day we were talking about, hey, I'm heading over to the liquor store to go grab a bottle, and someone was kind of confused, like, why are you going to the liquor store at a lunch break at work? It's like, well, they're dropping a few bottles. I need to grab this one. I have to leave. So as soon as I came back, someone came down to my office and was talking about his interest in bourbon as well, and it kind of spiraled out of control. So after talking with him, his name's Rob. After talking with Rob a little bit, we planned a trip to take everybody down to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And I've been obviously probably a dozen or two times down before that. People started randomly entering this little group to head down there. And once we headed down, that was it. The Canton Bourbon Boys were kind of founded. And ever since that, we started really dipping into the barrel pick game, started doing a couple barrel picks, and the group kind of escalated from there. But we always kept it our little core group, a small little thing, and we kind of share the bottles with people we work with, and that's how we started.
Excellent. That's kind of exactly almost the story that we did, but we weren't that into. We got into it a little bit through a whiskey calendar, and then we found out about the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And when we went in 2019, I also did the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, the whole thing, 972 miles. Was able to get my glass. Was very proud of that. That was a lot of. I think that's the first time I had to drink 11 straight days in my life ever.
Yes.
But it was a blast. But now that we've kind of formed this partnership, which I'm so excited. I was talking to my wife and just saying, it's gonna, because we had just lost Young Nose to South Carolina, and although he's gonna do podcasts with us, it's not the same. Two people drinking on Zoom.
Yes,
it's
not
just
the same.
It's not, but it is fun still. It's like at least you can do that. You're both drinking and talking, but just in person, like what we're doing now. I knew I needed somebody, and then just out of nowhere, there, I remember when me and Super Nash, when we were all talking, I just had said to Super Nash, that guy's pretty cool. He seems to be a really nice guy, and so all of a sudden, it's like I guess over the next 20 years I'll find out, right?
Oh yeah. We'll keep this thing rolling.
Yeah. So that brings me to we have now been fully sponsored, and it's pretty exciting. And our first sponsor ever was the Spirit of French Lick, and Alan Bishop is going to be on the next podcast with me. I'm really excited. He has a lot of really excellent things planned. They have just released their Morning Glory bottled in bond bourbon, which is with buckwheat. And it's just like, I'm excited to be able to taste that. In September, I'm going to be down in Kentucky, and also Alan is going to be meeting us for a day of a lot of fun, and hopefully I'll be able to land one of those bottles. That's just but tonight we're going to be tasting two of the actually Matt has not tasted it yet, but we have the William Dalton, the release, the 100 proof bottled in bond release of the wheated bourbon with the French staves dropped in. And then also we're going to be doing the Iconoclast, which that was a marketing campaign that Alan had done, where he was saying secondary was outrageous, and it then eventually became outrageous. It was pretty cool thing. But on this, I have this. The Spirit of French Lick, the largest pot still distillery in Indiana, is leading the way, representing both quality of Hoosier artesian distilling process while paying tribute to its inseparable past and the many pre-Prohibition era distilleries that once dotted the hills of southern Indiana. By implementing best practices from those early times with improved modern methods, the Spirit of French Lick has created a unique place in the industry, not only in terms of its story, but also in methodology, double pot still distillation, retention and concentration, flavor, and aroma. So thank you, Spirit of French Lick. Love to have you guys on board. Alan, keep doing what you're doing. All right, so there's that. So that brings us, this is our first ever podcast together. Actually, this is the first time we've ever drank together.
That's true.
So that's really kind of a cool, there's never going to be another time for that. So we got to make this memorable. Yeah. And you've brought something fucking pretty memorable.
Yes.
I mean, here, I'm going to grab this carefully and let you hold it up. But I didn't even know this existed. But when we were talking beforehand, this actually was put out by Michters when they were in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yep.
And it was put out at the time to represent when the King Tut exhibit was coming across the United States. I actually, as a child, went to Chicago and waited in line and was able to see the King Tut exhibit. And one of the cool things is there's a lot of people who saw the whole exhibit, but they didn't go in to the actual King Tut mask that you have there, because it had a curse. So there was many people who were all the way around, but only a certain amount of people would go. And I did go. So it's still open whether or not I was cursed or not.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was really kind of a cool thing. I remember that experience. One of my grandparents who have passed away, they went with us, and it was just something that I just remember. It was an 8-hour wait. You bought tickets, but it was 8 hours at the Field Museum in Chicago, a huge museum. So, all right. So we're going to be tasting that. That's pretty exciting. Then also, you brought 2 of your barrel picks.
Yes. So hopefully I have a decent flavor profile here.
Actually,
and he enjoys our barrel picks. But this is actually a personal barrel pick that the Canton Bourbon Boys did. I don't know if you guys can see
they can see
Single Barrel Select label and the little logo we had for the Canton Bourbon Boys. But this is our first barrel pick we ever did with Buffalo Trace. We did a Buffalo Trace pick as well, but that one will not be here until sometime in late November.
Yeah, I know all about how it's got to be bottled and put out. So
yes.
And then you had this one.
And this is the barrel pick number 2, I think we did with the Canton Bourbon Boys. It's a new Riff pick. We named it after Baker Mayfield, obviously the logo, and then the etching into the glass, which is kind of cool. New Riff picks are kind of interesting like that. You get a little etching of your logo into the glass if it's a private pick compared to a store pick. You also get a collector's box with every bottle that you get from there.
And then there's a side note on this one, right? This
was this is a Peerless distillery pick. It is the honey, oat, and citrus. It's a 3-year-old. When I tried this at the distillery, it had so many butterscotch notes. It was sickening. And I have yet to get the same notes out of the bottle I brought home. So I was always curious whether I bought the right bottle or I just was confused at the time. Palates are always different. Depends on what you eat and what you've done the day of the pick.
Oh yeah, and not only are palates different, but how the alcohol hits you has everything to do with how much you eat, how much you don't eat.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start to do this on what would you say, a more of a, as a profession somewhat, you realize you got to really pay attention. Otherwise, it'll bite you every once in a while.
Yep.
All right, so that brings us to the part that we are the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. You can find us online, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Look at that. See, Facebook's already telling me when I'm not even trying to go live that I suck.
You can't go live.
Yeah, I did. Did you see me try and go live?
I tried to click on it.
Yeah,
I actually saw it say join. I tried to click and it did not allow me. Yeah. Then I saw your post after that saying it's not letting me do it.
Yeah. Okay. So that was when I set up the group, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's last Saturday.
Yes.
It was the first time that I had been able to go. After 2 weeks, I couldn't, and then within 3 minutes, they kicked me off, reset my account, and then kicked me off live again. And it's just, anyways, that's neither here nor there. But you can find us on the web, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Please go there. Now, in the top right-hand corner, when you get there, there is a Patreon button. Please click that and support us on Patreon. You can get all types of swag, including Scotchy Bourbon Boys t-shirts and Glencairns, plus a mix of everything else. So check us out on Patreon. Please support us. We appreciate everything that you do through that. You also can find us on all the major podcast formats. And when you are listening and you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave some feedback. That makes a lot of difference on how many people can listen to us. And then when you're also at the website, I will be working on actually updating it, because we're going to get a little bio up on Matt real soon. So we got to get that updated, but you can find out all about us. And then hopefully our Whiskey Lives can come back once Facebook's done spanking me. I have no idea. I mean, in the past, if I've done something, you know, they tell you, and then I kind of know, and I avoid doing that. Now, I am the ultimate overshare to groups there ever was. You know, I share to every group, but I have down how much to share. And that's not a reason to stop me from going live. And it hasn't been in the past. So I have no clue. But also, we are on Instagram. Check us out. We are on Twitter at Scotchy The. And then also we are on Facebook. Check us out there. We have a Facebook group and page. Join the group. All you got to do is answer a few questions, and we'll let you in. And then speaking of the group, we had 8 new members to this week. Bridget Ann Allen, Tyree Thompson, James Sowards, Wild Bill. This one is Mr. Kim. I'll refer to him as Mr. Kim because I'm not like, well, that's not happening.
No.
Ken Stewart Anderson, Mackenzie Reagan, and Travis Williams. All welcome to the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Glad to have you here. So with that said, do you have anything else you want to add about this experience tonight, or do you want to get down to drinking?
Well, I definitely want to get down to drinking, but this is the first time I'm on a podcast, and this is fantastic. So I'm having a good time so far. First experience being on a podcast. A lot of footage taken, but never anything good enough to actually put out there. So this is a pretty fun time. I'm enjoying it so far.
I mean, this aspect after doing this so many times, especially when you're with somebody, and this is kind of special to our first time. And then also when we go and travel and get the guests on and the experiences, I mean, it's just it's pretty much unbelievable what goes on. I mean, you know, where I've gone and what I've done. And one of the things that we're going to do together coming up on the Friday 27th and 28th is we're headed down to Kentucky, and we are in the process of finalizing, but I think it's pretty much tentative at the moment. We are going to be podcasting with Harlan Wheatley at Buffalo Trace. And that's pretty exciting to me. And I know that's for you, and I've been basically letting Super Nash know this kind of experience only comes around a few times. So unless we just become really good friends with Harlan and then he wants to be on the podcast all the time.
There's a good chance.
But he is busy, that's for sure. That's one thing I know with everything they're doing there, that renovation and that new still and everything that they're putting in. He said he didn't have a lot of time, but he was going to make some time for us. So, and then a shout out to Greg Schneider from Chicken Cock Whiskey. He basically is the master distiller there. He knows Harlan pretty well, and he's the one that got me into the actual introduced me on email, and then eventually got me in there. But I'm also hoping, because of our contacts now, that we will have Freddie Johnson on also coming up. I don't know if we're going to do that live, but it would be good to have him even on through Zoom.
That was my best bourbon experience with Freddie Johnson.
Yeah.
He's the one that taught me to quit putting those damn bottles on my shelf and letting them sit there and crack them open and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. I've never had a problem. I do like, I've even some of the best stuff I've ever had, I share it, because as you can see with that cabinet full, that full, I'm not going to ever be able to, I could stop now and I don't think I'd finish it all off. No. So you got to share it with people. It's not meant to be in your cabinet.
No, we just don't have, sometimes it's hard to find that time. You keep getting these bottles, and you have those rare moments where you have these great tastings with 5 or 6 really rare bourbons you get out there, but I can't sit there and crack something open by myself or not enjoy it with somebody just on a Friday night where you have nothing to do. I want to actually enjoy that with somebody, share that moment of something extremely rare. So sometimes it's hard to find those moments, but you got to make them. You got to make time for that. And I've got to start cracking some of these bottles, but this gives me an opportunity to do that as well.
Well, I find a lot of times I'm blessed with the gift of the bottle. And then once I've tasted it and had some, I don't feel right not sharing it with people, because I'm going to be gifted that many more. But then I've been starting to go to so many distilleries and walking away with so much bourbon or whiskey or anything. It's to the point where I have to You know,
Yes.
I'm like, hey, you know, come on over. And it's like, what? You're going to share that? And like, of course. It's like,
Yeah.
why do you want to share something that's really special with not share it with your friends? You know,
Yeah, you got to
it's
share.
just, it's all there. So, all right. So we've got those what we went over with. And then we've got also, I've got the watershed.
You want me to grab it?
I just want to make sure that I am very careful of your decanter. This here is the single barrel bourbon, and it's called the King's Chambers. This is the special pick at the Watershed Distillery. It's barrel proof. That was picked by Aaron Harris for the gift shop, and that's a. I'm going to be interested to see what you think of that.
Yeah,
But
I've never tried it.
Yeah, and then we've got Lee Sinclair Iconoclast, which that was at the distillery. And then the last, but not the least, is this William Dalton with the French staves that was available at the distillery. This right now is my bourbon of the year so far. So I don't know. I tell Alan all the time how delicious that was. All right, so let's go to the next. We could probably start off with the Watershed.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it's barrel proof and everything, but let's give them a shout out. Aaron Harris and Greg Lehman, also Ann Dimmick, all are the people down at Watershed that have been so generous to us and have become our sponsors. A Watershed moment might be pivotal, but it might also be quiet and fleeting. It could be a moment, occasion, a cause for celebration, an enormous triumph, or a small daily victory. A Watershed moment could be a rekindling or an observance or gathering. Any opportunity to relish with friends and family. It's whatever you choose to cheers to, who you're gathered around, and whatever's worth celebrating. We founded Watershed Distillery on the principles of community in 2010. We wanted to live in, work in, and contribute to the community in which we grew up. We aimed to create spirits that stood apart in quality and character. Along the way, we set out to form a community of our own, one that could gather together to savor, celebrate, and enjoy good spirits and company. We've grown from a tiny little still and two guys in jumpsuits to a dedicated team of over 40 people and two much larger stills. If you're ever in the area, stop by so we can introduce you to our team and pour you some of our award-winning bourbon. Creating it was our Watershed moment, but we want to hear about yours. Going down there, now that they've added Aaron Harris as their master distiller, Aaron comes out of the Bardstown Bourbon Company and also Lux Row, both not the Bardstown, Barton's, comes out of Barton 1792, and then Lux Row, and he has made a big difference for what they're doing and everything that they're doing down there. And I was ecstatic to go down there, but they also have an insane restaurant. It is chef inspired, and it's just some of the food that I was able to have over the last 2 meals when I was down there, it's just spectacular. So if you go down to see them at the distillery, make sure you stay for either lunch or dinner. It's fantastic. All right, so this one, like I said, is when we were
Yeah, I can pour it.
okay, that's you're gonna be the pour. Because yeah, you already got this down. All right, we'll put this one up here. All right. So this one, Aaron Harris, and basically, when I was down there, I blind tasted this up against the other single barrel strength they have in their gift shop. And Dimmick, who's in charge of the barrel aging at Watershed, had a team, and they had picked from 14 barrels, and that one I think is called Sugar and Spice. Okay, and they were very proud of it. But then when Aaron came through, he said, do I really have to pick off your 13 rejects? And she said, no, pick what? Well, he had a barrel that I'm sure he had picked out and stashed, and this was the one. So when we did the blind tasting, they both were good barrels, don't get me wrong. But when I tasted this blind, there was a moment where I actually was like, shit. It was one of those bourbons. So it's been opened a little bit, so let's see what we got.
I get a little bit of graham cracker.
Yeah. There's a lot of different aspects to this. It's a really good nose. There's a little cherry.
Yeah, there is.
More like brown sugar than caramel.
Yes, I get the brown sugar on that.
But it's like it's a classic barrel strength nose. I mean, it's big and bold.
Not too overpowering.
No,
not
not too much. And then if you look at it, once again, we're tasting in the Scotchy Bourbon Boys Glencairns. Martin Duffy is the North American Glencairn representative and also a Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and he makes this possible for us. Just put in an order for another 4 dozen, and we're going to have the Crystal Glencairn soon too. All right.
Huge spice.
And there's like 14 different things that just happened.
Yeah.
Which turned into a big, huge hug. But folks, you shouldn't start drinking on a podcast a barrel brew.
Yeah.
As your palate just says, woo!
Yes. Yeah,
But
I get huge graham cracker pie crust type deal I get out of this.
What shocks me still to this point is that mid palate. There's not a lot of bourbons that are that full right on the middle of your tongue.
Yes.
So that's what I've been getting. That's what I got on that. Like, it's huge body right there.
Yeah.
Now, it's a craft distillery, and these are, I think it's a 5-year. Let me see. Kentucky Straight aged. This is a 4-year. So you're looking at, it's what's exciting about when you're tasting. And I was watching a podcast. I watch Bourbon Pursuit from time to time, and Fred Minnick's on it. But one of the things they were talking about with craft distilleries is that as you're tasting, as it goes along, and in the case of pretty much all our sponsors, they're all in the same boat. Log Still, I think, will become a major player at one point, but it's a craft right now. And what you get to do is taste that whiskey as it's aging. So this is, Watershed coming out with a 4-year all their bourbon. And this is a barrel that they were used, and they have the bottled and bond and everything. And as it evolves, it just gets better and better. And just imagine this at 6 years.
Yes. Yes. I do taste the youngness. I
a little bit, just a little, but it's not unappealing because there's so much else going on, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where we're at with that one.
Yeah. I think I poured us too much, huh?
Hey, to start off with barrel proof. Well, hey, cheers, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoy it. It hits you like a barrel proof in your mid palate, but some of the barrel proofs I've had, they go down harsh. So you get that deep hug on some of these. And this one, I got all of the spice in the mid palate. Nothing crushed me on the way down, which is different for a barrel proof.
But there's a huge Kentucky hug.
Did you get a big one?
I mean, I'm just warm on the inside. Are you getting
I got
one?
it. I didn't down in here, but I did in the mouth.
In the mouth.
Yes.
Okay. So just right now, it's just, yeah. I mean, I mean, honestly, that's a single barrel, so it's not even fair, but it's like, it's as good as a Booker's, in my opinion. I like Booker's. I love Booker's.
Yeah.
But it's right up there. It's playing the game.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit there and say it's like better than any Booker's, but it's with, put it this way, I would prefer that more than the Boston batch of last year, which I wasn't that, you know, that was more like a Jim Beam barrel proof, you know, where and not that I didn't like it, but I like this better, but it's not up, you know, so it's right there.
The Booker's to me is a mood thing. If I want peanuts, I'm going for the Booker's, and it to me it's a mood thing. If I feel like having, you know, that big bold peanut flavor, it's like a dessert thing. It's like an Angel's Envy rye. You want the pancakes and maple syrup one day, you go for the Angel's Envy rye. It's totally flavor profile based. I mean,
yeah, it
depends on the day,
right? And then one of the cool things when I was down there for their media event to launch their 4-year apple brandy cask finished bourbon, and then they also launched their bottled in bond. When I was down there, oh my God, I just completely lost my train of thought. We were talking about, nope, okay, fuck that.
Yeah, that last taste was the best one. So,
yeah, it's our palates kind of, what would you say?
To it.
Right. Yeah. Because to taste a barrel proof right off the bat. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna give you.
Yeah, do a real
taste of this, because once again, gives you a new glass.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we won't survive.
No.
But this is my favorite bourbon of all time.
Oh, the
nose
the year. On this one.
It's insane. Alan did a very special thing.
Like candy.
So
candy apples.
So what I find with when you're talking about a craft distillery, like we're talking about Watershed and whatnot, their job is to make some special bourbon. Like Watershed's job, or Cleveland whiskey, their jobs here in Ohio is to make an Ohio profile whiskey that people, it's not supposed to taste like Kentucky whiskey.
No.
You know, it's not supposed to be a Kentucky bourbon. It's supposed to be an Ohio bourbon, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be good, you know? And I just think Indiana has developed their profile. I've through a bunch of different distilleries, and this distillery, Alan does some fucking amazing things, and he's a fucking amazing person. And I can't wait to have him on Thursday.
It's incredible nose.
Oh my God.
That's sweet candies.
There's chocolate.
Yeah.
There's coconut. I get like not an amounts, but an almond joy, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
And then there's other stuff. There's a little bit of like a Boston cream, like a donut. Like there's a bread, like a bread, but it's almost like with the chocolate. With the chocolate, it's almost like a deep fried bread. You know what I mean? Like a Boston cream donut.
Yeah, I definitely get a creamy note on this one.
Now you get to taste it.
Oh, that's quite unique.
There's not a lot. The chocolate is just so. And in this, the finish, man. Here we go.
Yeah, the chocolate really comes out in that finish.
And it lasts forever. I mean, and who doesn't like I've had hints of chocolate finish, but this is as if you were eating a chocolate bar, and not a dark chocolate bar that's so like a bitter dark chocolate. There's some sweetness in it. Now that's their first taste. There's a aspect of exactly what the main thing of the Spirit of French Lick is respect the grain. They want a grain forward. Everything that Alan does as far as aging, he tries to leave the grain in there so you can get that bread. That second one has a little bit of more bread. And when we were first trying it, but this is it's rare. This is a really rare tasting. How many other bourbons are you getting this? And then as far as its smoothness, wait, I'll change that.
You don't like that terminology either.
Everybody hates smooth.
They do.
So,
they do.
As far as its silkiness, I go with silky because silky is acceptable.
It's so different for a weeder.
Yeah. There's no doubt. There's not something else like this, and it's unique, but it's delicious, right?
Yes, that's fantastic.
I mean, it's hard to believe that's a bourbon. All right. So let's go to. So what do you think we should do? You want to do the new Riff and then the Eagle and then the King Tut?
Yeah, might as well do that one last.
All right. Now, me and my wife, I'm not a fan of rye. One of the things everybody knows on the podcast that it takes. This is okay. I'll hold them for you. Don't kill us. I got more Glencairns that I can just get back here. We went down to the Party Source, and New Riff was there, so we stopped in.
Yeah.
And we did a tasting. It's the middle of. We were coming back in the middle of we were out there in April. Yeah, we went in April. And we were coming back. We had done a bunch of podcasts, whatever, but we stopped at the Party Source, and New Riff was there, and they opened up at 11, and we were there about 10:30 in the morning. And we waited because we were both decided that we had to go to the bathroom before we left, and we had left Party Source, and it was like 5 to 11. I'm like, well, let's just run in and check out New Riff. And so we did a tasting flight with the guy there, and the bartender was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it was he obviously knew everything, but he let us taste the rye,
the 6-year malted rye,
before it was released.
Oh, it's fantastic!
And once again, I'm not a rye guy. There's MGP rye. You can take that and shove any MGP rye up your ass. But Michters rye, toasted barrels, and everything. Good stuff, and I would like to just get a little sample of that Peerless in the end.
Yeah.
But and we will barrel bash tonight, but we're gonna barrel bash the Michters.
There you go.
Just to see what it is, because how special is a 1978 Dusty Michters from Pennsylvania? It's special. I'm having a really good time. Cheers, brother.
I am too.
Ooh, so this is. Nice nose.
I get a lot of citrus off the nose, a little floral.
I'm getting
a little oakiness.
I gotta think. I'm getting ooh, what is that? It's not a milk. It's a s'more.
You get a little s'mores off there?
Yeah, I'm getting a little marshmallow,
okay.
A little. But you know what? I get the citrus on the bottom of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there's an aspect of it right at the top that's just.
Yeah. The top nose.
What's the weirdest nose that you've ever gotten yet? Like, were like, what? Where the hell did that come from?
Like I got it has to be the 80s bean. That old closet, old shoe.
That's a bad
nose. Yeah, the black licorice nose I got on one that was a good nose, it shocked me. But that Peerless, when I was at the distillery, if I was blinded and I was smelling a Werther's candy, I wouldn't know the difference between the whiskey and a Werther's candy. That's why I'm thinking I got the wrong bottle.
Okay.
But you may get the butterscotch out of it. But
No, I'm a
Huge
butterscotch
Werther's
fan.
candy.
One of my favorite go-tos lately is Woodford Reserve Double Oaked.
Oh yeah.
Just based off of almost anywhere you taste it, it's just completely delicious butterscotch. It's there, it's rich, it's consistent.
Yes.
I don't know, because like you said, you got that off that special barrel.
Yes.
That right?
Yep.
But where does somebody come up with to just consistently put bottle after bottle of it? And in my opinion, at $52, or actually I picked it up in Wisconsin at the Costco for $42. That's my next, my whatever. And it's like, how can you do that?
I think they do. Woodford does something unique, don't they? They rotate their barrels through that warehouse, I think.
They could.
And that consistent profile is picked up instead of having that iconic barrel section that you pull your, what do they call them? The cherry picked barrels or the honey barrels.
Right.
They have specific spots in those warehouses where they pick these barrels out that they know are going to give a phenomenal flavor profile.
Well, yeah, they all know where Blanton's is coming from. It's coming from the only metal distillery warehouse there is at at Buffalo Trace. I mean, they know where everything is supposed to be coming out of, and it's been there for over. I had some, I was just reading when those warehouses were being built. Yeah. And then most of them were being built in the 1800s, and they still exist. Plus, then they're making their Buffalo Trace, and they're, where are the new warehouses going to be, where they house the Weller and it's going to have to be new because there's no way around it.
Yeah.
They're doubling, completely doubling their
capacity.
Yeah, which is amazing. So when we get down to talk to Harlan, I can't wait. Those are the questions I want to ask. What kind of fun is Harlan going to have? I mean, he's still fairly young, and that's pretty exciting.
He's got a long career ahead of him.
And he's had a long career behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, that smells good. All right. When's the next barrel pick I can go with you?
Yeah. We'll definitely schedule one. We'll do it. I think I'll be getting another Buffalo Trace, or I'm debating doing a 1792.
A Barton's?
So yeah, I want to get a foolproof pick is my goal. So whether it's Stag Junior, foolproof Stag Junior, Weller foolproof at Buffalo Trace, or if I can't get those two, to go for a 1792 foolproof. So get a barrel proof pick is what I like, because trying these things at barrel proof, they don't do the product any justice by proofing them down. This Eagle Rare and that Buffalo Trace, when we tried it at barrel proof, it was so fantastic that it was kind of mind baffling that they could proof this down. But you think of the business aspect too. You proof it down, you get more bottles, you open up the flavor profile, and you make it more drinkable for the average bourbon drinker.
But remember, 100%. I mean, if you talk to any of the old distillers, they 100% thought.
You want to grab those for you?
Wait, hold on. Let's see. I think I still have two more down here. Yeah, you could grab those in a couple seconds, but we still are good. They thought that speaking of 1792, there you go. I got a 1792.
All right.
They 100% thought that people were nuts for drinking barrel strength consistently.
Yeah.
You see Elmer T. Lee talking about it. You see Booker talking about it. You see Jimmy Russell talking about it. They think 100% at that time it was nuts. And the fact that people drink rye now, they think it was that it's nuts. So what they were doing, and what distillers are doing today is a completely different goal. I know, coming from an art background, and people always wanted, before technology came in, they want consistency.
Yes.
And consistency of Jim Beam still today, people don't realize this, but Jim Beam and Jack Daniels are outselling any of the bourbons we're doing massively.
Yes.
They don't even come close to that particular thing. Jim Beam, because still the mass public wants consistency.
Yeah.
But for the first time in the history of bourbon, starting in the 90s, but really probably in the last 3 to 5 years, people have started to accept the differences and the excellence of what the differences mean. Now, that's one thing I'm going to talk to Alan Bishop about, is because he understands it, because there's almost nothing new that a distiller can do. It's always being done way before, and it's been lost. All that they're doing is bringing it back because people are accepting it. You know, they're using different, wheats and different, just all the different things, the grains that you can use. It's been done, but it's been lost.
Yeah.
And it's an art,
Definitely is an art. This blows me away a little bit.
Yeah, that's Kentucky bourbon. That's that's an Eagle Rare with butterscotch.
Now, I'm not an Eagle Rare fan.
No.
So when I got the pick, I was like, I'm going to do the pick. It's Buffalo Trace. You can't say no.
Right.
But Eagle Rare doesn't, I don't go to the store. I don't crave Eagle Rare. I'm not an Eagle Rare fan, but this barrel pick here, it kind of blew my mind a little bit.
This is like butterscotch at home.
Yeah.
Like everything that home is, like butterscotch, like grandma is making butterscotch on the stove.
And it comes at you in full force. I mean, it hits you with a strong nose too.
Wow. There's a good amount of rye. You got that little bit of rye in there.
Yes.
The nose is way more butterscotchy than the taste.
I get a huge cherry on the flavor profile.
Yep, I would say that's a good one. A little bit of oak on the finish.
Yep.
Ooh, not more like pie cherry.
Pie cherry, correct.
Not the. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And typically on the Eagle Rares, I get a lot of smokiness and a lot of oak.
Okay, but the last Eagle. Okay, so I'm not a fan of Eagle Rare. I've had 3 bottles now. The first 2 bottles, the second bottle sat in my cabinet forever because I just wasn't. People talk Eagle Rare, and I'm like, not a fan.
Yeah. Okay,
but I was at my place on Giant Eagle, and there was an Eagle Rare on the shelf, $31. I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up. But this last batch, I opened it up right away, and it was delicious. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, is that when it's a smaller batch type thing like Eagle Rare or these bourbons, once again, I think what's been happening over the last 10 years in bourbon is that the aging process of the weather in the United States, especially Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, has been peak. I can't say it is for Colorado because Colorado does a little bit, but even in Wisconsin, there's some really good bourbons. New York, it's a little bit hotter in the summer and a little bit colder, and it just seems like that aging aspect. Now at Buffalo Trace, they use that steam. Yeah, the steam heated warehouses, but they don't air condition the warehouses in the summer.
No.
So if it's, I remember 2019, they were in a drought. They got no rain. And they were like when we were there for Kentucky Bourbon Festival, it was like fire alert was high. Everything was dry. All the creeks were dried up, and it was hot. And it's kind of like, but that's perfect for bourbon.
Yes, it is.
It's sucking
it
all in the wood. And the wood is where a ton of stuff happens, especially in Kentucky. One of the things that when I was talking to Alan in Grain Forward, he was talking about is that if you pot still like he does, you can get some of the impurities out before you put it in the barrel, which allows you to use the barrel a lot differently than if you're in Kentucky and you're column stilling.
Yeah.
You know, and so those are the kind of things that get into it. But at the same time, I just think what's been happening with bourbon, this last cycle that has been happening has just been making even the ancient age 10 good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't mind that. What I've always had a question about is bottling times.
There's butterscotch on that one.
Yes. When you bottle in the summer compared to the winter, I mean,
it all matters.
It's going to be different. So, I mean, do they just bottle all year round most of the time just to gather different flavor profiles? I mean, you bottle one time, it's going to be more oaky and smoky. You bottle at a different time, it may pull all that out of the.
I think as they're tasting, and these barrels are being sampled, and that's one of the things that Harlan has to do, and his team. And it's a team effort, really. It has to be a team effort with the amount of alcohol that has to be tasted and tested. Yeah. But at the same time, it 100% does matter, but that's where the distiller comes in, where he's been taught by all the other distillers, and it's all been passed down. When the best time to do it, when the best time to do this bourbon, when the best time to do that bourbon, and then how to taste to make sure that's the time to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's what happens when those are the things that those time-tested distilleries completely know, opposed to but also some like Alan Bishop, the Spirit of French Lick started in 2016. It's not an old distillery. They're putting out 4-year their own stuff right now, and they're going to be doing 5 years soon. And but also he's been distilling and understanding, and it's just been in his blood since he's been a kid.
Yeah,
So I think we need 2 more because we're going to do this barrel bashing.
Oh, legs hurt already.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Like I said, now that we have a budget, I have to buy. Yeah, those two are any two. Nope. Is that the dirty ones?
That looks pretty good.
Okay. No, that's not the dirty ones.
No.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on over to drink out of the dirty ones. All right. So this Michters right here, this decanter is pretty cool, but you have decanted it, right?
Yes.
And you do the honors on this. So once again, now we are dealing with the dusty. This has been poured out of the decanter and then poured into a tasting. Yes. Now this particular Michters is what's really cool, because we're here in Ohio, and initially I spent my first 40 years in Wisconsin. So that Michters was sold out of Wisconsin, and then you've got the big Ohio thing on the new Riff.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm being represented in both ways on what you brought.
Awesome.
So this is exciting.
Cheers.
Dusties are a whole different thing, and we just did a bunch of picks, and we did a bunch of craft distilleries, and yeah,
fantastic, isn't it?
Just caramel.
Yeah. Oh my, that's opened up a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's what you got to do with these.
Whew.
There's no old lady socks from 1955 from the addict in this.
No,
not on the nose at all.
Oh
no, it's butterscotch.
Butterscotch, yep.
I'm looking for anything else but butterscotch, but it's
not giving much else.
So out of Pennsylvania, Michters, before they went and redid themselves.
I get raspberry. I get a lot of raspberry. Dark red fruits. Dark red fruits, butterscotch. I don't get the typical vanillas and caramels out of this one.
Ooh. A butterscotch dilly bar. There's like a creaminess to it.
Yeah.
All right. Does the nose? You tasted it just now. Does the nose match?
Yes.
The palate?
Yes. My opinion, yes. I think it's fantastic.
Wow, that survived. There was no age statement. So it's obviously more, it's 4 years or older, because if you don't put an age statement on it.
Yep.
But I'd say this is like a 6, the youngest is 6 year, because you're getting some oak.
Yes.
You know, you're picking up that barrel. Now, as far as
it's got, I mean,
does it got good legs? Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it clings to the glass, and all of a sudden, you know what's really cool is it doesn't like run down. All of a sudden, the legs appear. That's unique right there. You see how all of a sudden they're there.
Yep. Oh, it's even opening up more now. You get so much more of that fruit. I mean, this is a very fruit-forward bourbon. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I'm getting a little mint on the finish. Like a menthol.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. A little herby finish.
All right. So on the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we have barrel bashed. Our barrel bash system is, and we're going to barrel bash this Dusty Michters. You could get a total of 4 categories, with 4 as being the top and 0 as being the bottom per category of nose, taste, body, and finish. So this initial Michters is pot stilled, sour mash whiskey.
Now,
so we're not looking at a bourbon, because it's a sour mash, which just means probably it was aged in a used barrel.
Possibly.
Because usually that's what they go for when it's not, you know, they didn't use the and you're talking about the height of bourbon hell. Yes. You know, they're doing this special release and nobody's drinking bourbon in 1978, right?
No.
Because when you think about it, it's just kind of like that was when everything was getting ready and everybody would, you know, and even today, everybody doesn't realize, but the clear spirits have their place that outsell the shit out of aged whiskey, because they can produce a shit ton more. And there's an awful lot of people that drink clear spirits. But at the same time, clear spirits from about 1978 till about 1990 completely dominated, where they pretty much tried to wipe whiskey off the face of the earth. And then whiskey started making its comeback. And now it's strong as hell, but it still doesn't come close to what Tito's is selling. I was talking to my guys, you know, Jim Beam sells, 10 cases a week at the store, which is a lot. You're not selling 10 cases. Although I think if Eagle Rare, if they were able to produce 10 cases, it probably would sell, but they're not. No. So they can't produce the amount that they need to sell, where Tito's is selling 35 cases.
I think it would sell for a certain amount of time, and then it would be a shelf turd.
You're right. Because, no, actually, isn't it true about bourbons that you can get? I mean, there's some. I mean, for instance, I love Old Tub. I think Old Tub, as far as a bourbon goes, is one of the better. It just has a rich taste that I love. Okay, but it's not complex. But for $18.99, I could drink that for if I was on a stranded island, I could drink that for the rest of my life. Probably get sick of it, but if they're only going to drop you 200 cases for the rest of your life on a deserted island, you got to pick one, right? Yeah. And they basically would be like, pretty much you can't take any of the small batch and above.
Yeah. I heard a rumor once that the pot still from the original Michters distillery is now used at Tom Fuller's distillery in Ohio.
Where's that located?
I'm not sure.
Well, maybe we have to make a trip down there to see if that's
That
real.
maybe, yeah.
Because I'm excited. I've only touched a few. Just actually, Watershed is the one Ohio distillery I want. But there's Horse Soldier, which is a really intriguing one to me because of who's running it and everything. But there's Cleveland Whiskey, who I reached out today to talk to, contact. And it seems like every time I reach out, I get success. So I have to watch out not reaching out to too many people because there's only so many hours in the week.
Now, what do you do when you reach out, you try the bourbons, and you don't like them?
Have not gotten to that point where, so in other words, okay, so that's a great thing. The story is at Watershed, not impressed with their Watershed bourbon. They did a fantastic job of marketing Watershed bourbon here in Ohio. But as far as a taste, I'm not a fan of just Watershed, what they were putting out. So when I was going down for media, so I had reached out to Aaron, and Aaron had made mention, we had talked, and he's like, come down for media day. So I go down for media day, and I'm going to myself, please make this bottled in bond and what they're going to give me.
Yeah.
Good. I was so happy that they had upped that quality. Yeah. And we're talking 4-year from the distillery. It's not sourced. That bottled in bond is theirs, and it was good. I mean, it's not the best bourbon I've ever tasted in my life, but it's good bourbon with a really nice profile that I can get behind. So when that happened, that's what made me make the decision that when I went down there the second time to ask Aaron about getting them as a sponsor, because you got to admit what's in that single barrel right there is some damn good.
Yeah,
that's good whiskey. So you're behind it. So with Cleveland whiskey, I've held off on their wheat penny. Actually, have you ever had their holiday whiskey?
Yes.
That is a flavored whiskey, which is whiskey. It's not bourbon.
Yeah.
But actually, it's good. It's not like you sit there and want to spit it out.
No. There's very few I've spit out. There's only one I've spit out.
Which one?
Whistle Pig.
So I've stayed away from Whistle Pig because it's MGP rye.
Yeah.
I haven't had their bourbon but it costs, everybody raves about them as a blender.
Yeah.
They do. Are they Canadian, if I'm not
mistaken? They are. Yeah, Alberta.
Yeah. So, and now is it the Alberta whatever?
The Alberta Premium.
Is that coming from the same people who bring you?
No.
It's different.
I can't remember who they're owned by, but I will look that up real quick because it's owned by someone familiar.
But Alberta Premium, I've heard really good stuff about.
Yes.
But there's no way I can drop $200 until I taste it.
Correct. Yeah, it's an expensive. Beam Suntory is Alberta. Crazy, huh? When I saw that the first time, I was like shocked.
Well, that means it's just coming straight from Beam.
Probably just. I mean, they bought a distillery.
No. But they own Canadian. Is it? It's not Canadian Club, right? Or is it the other?
They may own Canadian, yeah. Or Seagram's.
One or the other. They own Canadian Club because they wouldn't own Seagram's. But Canadian Club is part of Beam Suntory, and Freddie has gone with the Canadian Club to make Little Book. Although I'm getting excited about 5 because I've already tasted it.
Ooh, what's in 5? What's the blend on 5?
Well, it's just being released. When I tasted it, he said there was a bourbon in there with a malted, toasted rye. Ooh. In it. And then but I'm not sure but what I tasted of it was absolutely delicious. It wasn't quite finished at the time, but then Steve Coombs, who's a Scotchy Bourbon Boy, just came out and he got a bottle, and it's absolutely, he said it was just phenomenal, just as good as what we tasted that day.
Nice. I've loved all the Little Books. They've been great. And the one that was
I only-
intriguing is blending all the different brands together.
But the one that he used, so 1 and 2, it's 5, right? Either 2 or 3 I wasn't a fan of. But 1 was spectacular.
Yeah.
And then definitely 4 was one of the 4
was my favorite.
Well, put it that way. Last year, because it was with everything that was going down,
Yeah.
Little Book won our bourbon of the year for the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, and it was not a bourbon. But I said, but it was so good and tasted like a bourbon. I just said to and Young Nose agreed at that time, is that it's like, it's 2020. Fuck it. This is the best. You want to say bourbon, it's not a bourbon, but it's also the best whiskey we tasted, so it won it. It went up against George T. Stagg and everything.
The Stag has never impressed me too much. I mean, the persona of the George T. Stagg and the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, there's only one that really impressed me. It was the William LaRue Weller.
And you got to, and see, that's one of the things that you've got to taste a lot more. Matt, you intrigue me so much by what you're able to obtain here in Ohio, because there's not a lot of people who can pull out those bottles, but you've done it.
Yeah, I've grabbed some pretty nice bottles. I've gotten lucky, some great stories, but it's been a lot.
Barrel Finish Gin, Monks Road. They've got Dry Gin, Monks Road, and then they've got Monks Road 100 proof 5th District Series bourbon. The first release in our 5th District Series pays homage to Cold Spring Distillery, a historic distillery in southern Nelson County, Kentucky, that was located just a stone's throw from the site of our new distillery today. This 6-year-old single barrel bourbon masterfully blends notes of corn, rye, and malted barley for a product that revives the spirit of yesterday.
It's been a lot of luck.
All right, I wanted to see. Okay, so let's barrel bash this. We went through. But one of the things, you could give 4 for each category: nose, taste, body, finish. But if you think one of the categories is exceptional, you're allowed to give an extra butt up. So I'll go first on this. I'm 100% going to do what I just said, and I'm going to put it in there. The nose on this is one of the better noses on whatever I've tasted before. Maybe it's because I went and saw the King Tut exhibit, and it's just causing me to have, childhood memories. But the nose on this has oak, caramel, cherry, butterscotch. It's one of the more intriguing noses. Once it gets in here, they're all there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 4 with a butt up.
You going on with the next one, or you want me to?
No, you have to nose it.
All right.
That's how we do this.
I'm gonna go with a 3.
Okay.
Just because I've smelled a little bit better, but I'm gonna go with a 3.
Okay. All right, you get to go on taste first.
All right. I'd probably go with a 3 again. I mean, it's good. It just doesn't do what previous bourbons, ryes, or whiskeys have done, is blow my mind. So I mean 3. I'd say it's a little.
Okay. I would have to agree with you on the taste. There's no astringent tastes whatsoever. You're talking about 1978, so it's special that we are smelling and tasting this. Yes. And you got this in just the coolest way, and it just, everything that it represents. So I'm going to go with 3 also. Yeah. Now the body. The way I judge body is what it does in the glass, and that's it holds itself the way, and it's held up over time.
Yeah.
But also, I don't use the finish or the taste to tell me, it's how much the bourbon fills my mouth. Now, I've had a bad bourbon fill my mouth with bad taste, but it's like your mouth has cheeks, it's got tongue, and it's got a roof. And this bourbon is definitely a good bit. I mean, what did we get the proof on this?
86.
Right. For an 86 proof bourbon, it's phenomenal. And I'm going to give the body a 3. Doesn't quite give you that 4 like barrel proof or whatever.
No, it doesn't.
But it's everywhere in your mouth. It's just not. I think of the roof of your mouth and kind of the edges of your cheek give you, you know what I mean?
It's very pleasant.
Oh yeah, there's drinkable.
Yes.
I mean, you could get this, and me and you could finish one in an evening and not even think twice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's not something that you're just like, well, this is really big body and it's warm and you just want to have a couple, you want to sip on it. It's like, it's drinkable.
I'm going to have to go with 3 as well. Have to go 3.
All right, finish.
I kind of know my finish.
Tell me what your finish is.
I'm probably going to go with a 2. Just because it dies.
Yes.
Quick.
Yeah, but then again, we're talking about Michters 1978, which is probably at 86 proof. It's not a special bourbon. No. But it's a bourbon in a special decanter.
That's right.
And that's what, Jim Beam was in decanters all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a different distilling. Back then in 1978, are we talking, there's no GMO corn.
No.
Where they're in Pennsylvania, are they using Pennsylvania corn? You just don't know. But at the same time, I would agree on the finish was the weakest part of it.
Yes. I wonder if it loses its luster a little bit through time.
No, I don't. Honestly, I think just what we talked about, I think it's preserved. The air in there hits that top part, and you got to let that dissipate, like we talked about.
Yeah.
So that but it's still another layer of that. Like if you just drink it and open it, there could be that mustiness.
Yes.
But that layer is sealing the rest of it.
Yeah.
There's definitely an oak aspect to it, and it's not bad. So I agree. It's like the last taste in my mouth is not something where I'm like, that's horrible. But I'm not just jumping for joy either. No. So I give it a 2 also. So we agreed on taste and body and finish, but I just thought the nose was pretty good, because one of the things, and honestly, this is exactly why bourbon is so awesome, is because one of my favorite things in the world is butterscotch. Then you're talking cherry. All those flavors that are on that nose are like what I love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're getting it on.
And there. I get it on there. So that's why I gave it a butt up. But on the same sense, like you said, you've had other noses that you've liked and whatever. And that's one thing that, we always specify here. We are giving you a guide, but by no means, if you think what we're drinking is shit, or if we think it's shit and you think it's good, rock on. We aren't about telling you what you need to drink. We just try and give a little bit of a guide and spend an hour with you and have a good time.
Yeah.
So
it's so hard. I tried once to categorize bourbons and rank them. It's like, what's my favorite? Who knows? I can't tell you.
Okay. Put a little of this rye just in our glasses.
Yep.
I want to try it because you were telling me how good it is, and we can just throw that in, and we are good on time. Good. All right. So you picked this. This was at the distillery.
Yes.
And you tasted it at the distillery and was like, yeah.
Yeah, it just blew my mind. My wife loved it. She's like, we need to have this.
Isn't it great getting your wife involved?
I was going to talk about that at the beginning a little bit, but at first she wasn't. She was like, what are you doing, spending all this money on bourbon? This house is filled with this stuff. Get this out of here. Then I took her down to Kentucky. When you took her down to Kentucky, it totally flipped. She was interested in trying, tasting, but the beauty of these different I got goosebumps. Beauty of these different distilleries just blow people's minds.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been down there, it's just absolutely amazing. And she tried different things. And now when you go down there, your senses open up when you're in these distilleries and outside in these beautiful fields, beautiful locations. And she started trying things and she started getting the flavor profiles. And now she goes, hey, where can I go to get you a bourbon? So it kind of changed up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my wife, we actually did a podcast on how it evolved. I mean, initially, she hated whiskey. And my experience was my dad loved Jack Daniels.
That was mine.
And so I drank Jack Daniels. I puked Jack Daniels on my stag party, you know.
Yep.
And then in the 90s, when I had kids, I was buying Jack Daniels single barrel at Sam's Club. They had it at Sam's Club in Wisconsin. Now, being from Ohio, you don't understand Sam's Club or Costco having alcohol.
Yeah.
But they did. And so I was buying the single barrels, not knowing any idea what the fuck I was buying. I had no idea what a single barrel was. I'm buying a single barrel. I thought it was something to do with, kind of like Scotch.
Yeah.
Not knowing it just meant it came from one barrel. And so when I started getting into this and understanding it, but my wife hated whiskey, but she loved Chardonnay and she loves wood barrel oaked Chardonnays. So when I started doing this and we started tasting, she started tasting and started going, that's okay. Yeah. So when we went down to Kentucky Bourbon Festival before we ever podcasted, she went along, and because she had in Lexington, we went down for the festival, and then that week she was speaking at a convention in Lexington. And so I started doing the trail, and we started the trail, and then she went to her thing, and I kept doing the trail. But at the same time, she started to fall in love with the experience of what we were, going to, and all this. I purchased everything, like lunch with Fred and Freddie No at the distillery. We did they had the barbecue at the thing, and we were there and got to meet them, and they signed the painting over there for me. Nice. And kind of got to know. And realistically, I really think it comes down to people too.
It does.
The people down there are so friendly, but then the people everywhere that are doing
they're wonderful.
So if you drink bourbon, right away you've eliminated about 90% of all the bullshit of the world.
Yeah. There
are a few assholes out there, but they're far and few in between.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So I'm going to try this. Here we go.
Oh, it's so hard.
And I'll be all
this. See, I don't get any butterscotch. I get rye bread.
I get sweetness.
Sweet.
Okay.
Young.
Yeah, but I get nothing. Now we've been drinking the shit out of bourbon.
Yes.
But I get nothing that I hate about rye.
That's
I
good.
get the rye. I don't hate rye as far as when I get the rye taste in a bourbon or whatever. I hate celery, pickles.
Yeah.
There's an aspect of earthiness to some rye.
Yes.
And then we tried Heaven's Door rye, and I got old man's urine. So we're talking about, there's some ryes that just I could spit out.
Yeah.
But I worked my ass off, and this is not something I want to spit out. So that's Peerless, good. Now I have Peerless bourbon in there.
Okay.
And Peerless bourbon I've gotten it, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that $90
no
price tag.
No.
but I didn't pay $90. I mean, I had my guy. One of the great things about what you'll find out is Super Nash is sending us lots of stuff to taste.
Nice.
It's like I get Christmas like 10 times a year, and then I get Christmas from him.
Yeah. I did a Peerless double oaked barrel pick from Westport Whiskey and Wine.
Okay.
That one was fantastic. But the rest of the Peerless bourbons I've tried, they're so young yet. It's not bad. I mean, it's not great. It just doesn't.
But you know, Fred Minnick, I was talking about Peerless, and at first he didn't think it was good at all.
Yeah.
But they stuck to their guns.
Yeah.
They keep it whatever, and now they're producing a better product.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what they got to do.
I think they just released it. I mean, they were releasing this rye 2 years. This is a 3-year-old here, but they started releasing, I think, a 2-year-old rye, and it was rough.
Have you tried Bradshaw yet?
No, I have not.
Well, we won't try it on this podcast because I think we've hit our limit as far. And you probably have to hang out with me for a little bit afterwards.
Yes, yes.
Before you go home, but folks, remember we're www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out. Please support us on all social media. We love the support, everything that's been going on. Remember, you can pick these up on the website or through Patreon. And I think tonight we've pretty much merged. Hopefully, we've merged the Scotchy Bourbon Boys with the Canton Bourbon Boys, and now we're just all together, the Bourbon Boys. But we got the Scotchy Bourbon Boys logo. But I think this is gonna work out pretty good. Let us know what all the good things about Matt. But the last thing, I'm tiny, and we got Young Nose and Super Nash, and we got Bourbon Queen. We need to come up with Matt's name. So if you have any suggestions about what we need to have Matt, and Matt has to prove it, so don't give us anything negative. Please let us know, because he definitely, I think, based off of what we did tonight, there's going to be a lot more Matt. And this has been a complete blast, and I hope you guys have had fun with us too. All right, so let's take us out with Mr. Morrison. Oh, there we go. Remember, good bourbon, good whiskey equals good friends and good times. And when you go out there, everybody, make sure you take chances and live dangerously. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
If we don't find the next whiskey bar, I'll tell you it was done.